When I walked across that graduation stage, the applause was deafening. It rolled over me in waves, loud enough to blur into a single roar. Yet when my eyes searched the crowd, my parents' expressions weren't glowing with pride. They were stiff, almost stunned, pale in a way that told me everything. In that instant, something finally clicked for them. They had paid for my sister's college, every class, every convenience, but not mine. And now they were watching me stand exactly where they'd never imagined I could reach. I had done it without their money, without their guidance, without their encouragement, and without carrying a shred of guilt for it. That moment wasn't just a ceremony. It wasn't just a diploma. It was my quiet revenge. Set up. My name's Lena Parker. I'm 24 years old, and for most of my life, I've been the afterthought daughter. Not unwanted. Just unseen. I grew up in a small town where my parents ran a modest family hardware store. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable enough. My dad liked to say, "We take care of our own." It sounded reassuring until I realized that somehow I didn't qualify as our own. My older sister Emily did. She was everything parents brag about. Straight-A student, varsity athlete, student council president. Her trophies lined the shelves. Her photos filled the walls. She was framed, literally and figuratively, and me? I was the quiet helper, the dependable one. The daughter who stayed late to close the store. While everyone else sat in the bleachers cheering for Emily, I didn't complain. I learned early that being useful earned more approval than being proud. If I brought home a 95 on a test, my mom would smile and say, "That's great, honey. You know Emily got a 100 last year, right?" At first, I brushed it off. I told myself they didn't mean to hurt me. But over time, those comparisons stacked up. Small cuts turning into scars I carried without realizing how deep they ran. Then came the college conversations. During my senior year of high school, acceptance letters began arriving. I remember the night Emily opened hers, the envelope from her dream university. There were tears, hugs, a bottle of champagne pulled from somewhere special, and a surprise cake with frosting that read, "Our star." The house felt electric with celebration. 6 months later, when my own letter arrived from a solid state university, I ran into the kitchen, heart pounding. "Mom, Dad, I got in," I said, breathless. They looked up from dinner and smiled politely, like neighbors congratulating someone else's kid. "That's nice, sweetheart," Mom said. "But we'll have to think about money, okay? College isn't cheap." I waited for Dad to jump in. "For anything." He just nodded. "We'll see what we can do." And that was the end of it. No hugs, no cake, no moment. A week later, I overheard them talking in the living room. Dad said, "Emily's tuition is already a lot. We can't afford both." Mom answered without hesitation, "Lena's smart. She can get loans or something." Then came the line that settled everything. "She's resilient," Mom said softly. "She figure it out." They didn't say it cruelly. They said it with certainty. They believed I didn't need them. And in that quiet exchange, my future became something I'd have to carry alone, while Emily packed for college new laptop, dorm decorations, everything paid for. I started working double shifts at the diner downtown. Classes in the morning, work at night. Exhaustion became normal. My friends went home to cooked meals. I went home to leftovers and overdue notices. Some nights after closing, I walked past my parents' house. Lights glowing warmly inside. I could see them laughing on video calls with Emily, her college banner hanging proudly behind her. They looked so proud. And I told myself one day they'll look at me like that too. But the years passed. Calls became brief check-ins. "Doing okay, sweetheart? Still studying?"
"Good, keep going."
They never visited. Never asked if I needed help. Never once said they were proud. The first real crack came during my junior year. Emily called me late one night, crying. She'd lost an internship. She was behind on rent. I sent her money. I didn't have $400 scraped together from tips and savings. When I told Mom, she said, "You did the right thing. Family helps family." 2 months later, my car broke down. I called Dad, voice shaking. Can you help me with repairs? I'll pay you back next month. He sighed. Lena, we're still helping Emily. You know how it is. I did know. I knew exactly how it was. That night, sitting on the curb beside my broken-down car, I cried until my chest ached. Not because I was broke, but because I finally understood they would never really see me. Not unless I made them dot, so I decided to make them. I saved everything. No nights out. No trips, no extras. Just work, study, repeat. When others partied, I picked up shifts. When others rested, I learned new skills online. Doubt became fuel. By senior year, I had a 4.0 GPA, 3 scholarships, and a full-time job offer from a tech company waiting for me after graduation. My parents didn't know any of it. They didn't ask, and I stopped explaining. When graduation season came, I sent invitations to friends, professors, and my family. I didn't expect them to show up, but they did. Mom texted, "We wouldn't miss it, sweetheart. We're so proud of you and Emily both." I almost laughed. The night before graduation, I barely slept, not from nerves, but from reflection. 4 years of struggle, sacrifice, and stubborn determination had led to this. I looked at the cap and gown hanging by the door. I'd paid for it myself. That fabric wasn't just clothing. It was proof. The morning sun warmed my skin as I walked onto the field. Chairs lined in perfect rows. Cameras flashing. Parents waving proudly. I spotted them in the crowd: my mom, my dad, and Emily. Emily waved enthusiastically. Mom clapped like she'd always believed in me. I smiled back, small, polite, detached. When my name was called, I walked across stage with my head held high. No trembling, no hesitation. Lena Parker, summa cum laude, recipient of Dean's Award for Academic Excellence. The crowd cheered. Cameras clicked, and then I saw it. Mom's face went still. Dad's jaw dropped. Emily blinked like she couldn't process it because they hadn't known. They hadn't known I'd won highest honor in my department. They hadn't known I'd paid for a college entirely on my own. They hadn't known I was graduating with distinction, debt-free. For the first time in my life, I saw it in their faces. Realization, guilt, pride tangled with shame. They weren't proud of what they'd done. They were shocked by what I'd become. They waited for me outside, holding flowers, awkward, uncertain. Mom hugged me first. "We had no idea, sweetheart," she whispered. You dialed this yourself?" I nodded. "Yeah, I figured it out." Dad cleared his throat. "We should have helped more." I didn't realize. I looked at them, really looked. For years I'd wanted this moment, their recognition, their apology, but standing there in my cap and gown, I realized I didn't need it anymore. "No," I said softly. "But it's okay. I learned I could do it on my own." Their eyes shimmered with tears. Not the happy kind, the regretful kind. And that was enough. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, diploma on the table, cat beside me. That phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "We're so proud of you, Lena. You've become so incredible. We're sorry we didn't see it sooner." I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because I'd already forgiven them. The revenge wasn't in payback. It was in peace. They had underestimated me my whole life. And the moment they saw who he really was, it changed everything. Music, the weeks leading up to graduation passed in a blur. I barely slept, balancing my job and last exams. But every sleepless night felt worth it. It wasn't just earning a degree. I was reclaiming something my parents had taken long ago. My right to believe in myself. My gown arrived 2 days early. I hung it in the back of my apartment door and just stared. It didn't feel like fabric. It felt like armor. I still hadn't told me parents I'd completed my degree. "That last time we'd spoken," Mom said. "Your sister's graduation is next month. Try to come. Family supports family. Family supports family." I repeated those words until they became hollow. But when the invitation for my own graduation came, I mailed it to them anyway. Partly out of habit, partly to see what would happen. The morning of the ceremony, the campus buzzed with pride and camera flashes. Everyone wore the same robe. Yet somehow I felt invisible. Standing among parents holding bouquets for their kids, I spotted Jenna in the crowd before I saw my parents. She looked almost identical to her college pictures, designer dress, perfect curls, a smile that said, "Everything always works out for me." Mom stood beside her, clutching a bouquet of roses. The same shade she brought to Jenna's graduation 3 years ago. Dad was the first to see me. His eyes widened slightly, like he just remembered a detail he meant to ignore. Emma, he said uncertain. "We didn't realize you actually finished." "I did," I said quietly. "Working nights helped pay tuition." Mom tried to smile, but it looked forced. "You should have told us. We could have come prepared." Prepared? The word stung. They hadn't prepared a single thing when I needed them years ago. The ceremony began before any more could be said. The dean's speech floated over my head. Something about resilience and perseverance. Words that suddenly felt personal when my name was called. The applause from the audience thundered. Not because I had a cheering section, but because I clapped for myself as I walked. Every step up that stage felt like one less weight on my shoulders. The dean shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, Emma Walters, Bachelor of Business Administration. Summa cum laude." For a moment I froze. Highest honors. I hadn't even told them. The crowd cheered louder. Cameras flashed. And when I looked toward Theston's, I saw my parents' faces, pale, stunned. Jenna's smile had vanished. Mom clutched her pearls as though the words might choke her. Dad blinked, trying to process it. Their daughter, the one they didn't invest in, was graduating at the top of her class. I didn't need revenge. That was it. That look was enough. After the ceremony, the department chair approached me. "Emma, the firm sponsoring your internship has offered you a full-time position. Starting salary looks good." "Congratulations," I thanked her, holding back tears. My parents overheard. Mom's lips parted slightly. "You're already working full-time?" She sked. "Actually," I said, "I've been working for years. You just never asked where all those late nights went." She looked down, embarrassed. Dad mumbled something about proud of you, but the words felt too late. Like mail that arrived years after you moved away. We took photos together anyway because I didn't want to erase them. I just wanted to move on. Jenna stood next to Mestifly, her perfect smile cracking around the edges. "You really didn't tell anyone?" she asked. I smiled. Sometimes the best stories are the ones no one expects. That night I hosted Asmal dinner at a cafe near campus. My friends, the ones who lent me notes, shared meals, and cheered when I passed finals, filled the room with laughter. Halfway through dessert, I noticed my parents quietly walk in. They hesitated at the door. Mom approached and placed an envelope on the table. "For you," she said softly. "A graduation gift." Inside was a check. Not huge, but symbolic. "I didn't need it," I said gently. "I've already paid for everything." Her eyes swelled up. "Emma, we didn't realize how much we hurt you." I believed her. But forgiveness wasn't something you could hand over like a bouquet. It had to grow slowly, the same way I had. When everyone left, I sat outside beneath the streetlight with my gown folded beside me. My phone buzzed with messages. Friends, professors, co-workers. Then one more came in from Dad. "We're proud of you, truly. We're sorry it took us this long to see you." For the first time, I didn't feel bitterness. Just peace. I looked up at the night sky, the Samion that had witnessed all my late-night study sessions, and whispered to myself, "You did it." Months later, I started my new job in another city. My apartment was small but bright, and the first thing I hung on the wall was my diploma. Sometimes Jenna calls. She's different now, quieter, less entitled. We don't talk about the past much, but I can hear something new in her tone. Respect. As for my parents, they visit sometimes. We're still learning each other again. Step by step, because revenge wasn't the goal. Recognition was. And that day on stage, when they saw my name and heard that applause, I got all the recognition I ever needed. Closing narration for voiceover. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's walking across a stage they never thought you'd reach and smiling, as they realize they were wrong. Because real success doesn't shout. It simply shines.